Hey, what goes on with everybody? Welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney 2. How's everybody doing? Hope everything's looking alright. Just trying something a little bit different, yeah. Hopefully this does sound alright, unless I need to move the mic up a bit more, which I think I need to do. I need to adjust the mic a bit more. But hopefully everything sounds and looks great so far. Alright, shall we continue on? Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully this does stand. It's kind of weird. Oh, Pixel Dog, thank you for the resub. I appreciate it. I hope the audio is a-okay to everybody. Let's move on with the case. And by that, I mean it's time for the trial of episode 4. We have done a lot. Oh, I am big, am I? Like, is this size okay or am I too big? I mean, I could trick myself down if I'm too big. I mean, it's been a while since I've done a green screen. It's been a while. So I hope the size is okay, unless it's too big. If I have to shrink myself down, I need to like fix some stuff over once again, so I can try fixing stuff up if I'm too big. Hopefully I'm not too big though. Let's go. But of course, if it does turn out to be an issue, we'll fix it live on stream. We'll fix it until it looks right to everybody. But of course, here we are. We're back in court. Because we got a case coming up for the murder of our beloved... why did he have to die? There's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Actually, no. It's a little different today. Wait, is my audio a-okay? Am I a little too quiet or something? Give me a second. I need to find out if my audio is a-okay because for some reason I think I might be a bit too quiet. Or am I loud enough? Yeah, I don't think I'm too loud. Oh wait, I am quiet. It never just works well with me. Alright, how about now? I raised myself up a bit more. How's that now? Does this sound better? Unless I should put myself up to the max and you hear everything in the background. You hear every single thing. Had it louder than you usually do. Gotcha. I'm also trying out different things, that's why. I'm trying out like different stuff, so it's not like you have to raise me up too high or anything, so I don't know. But yeah, so as a recap, so this is a case where our darling Gregsy died. Gregsy is dead. Our wonderful, beautiful, handsome Tobias Gregson is dead. Actually, no, it's a little different today. There's an even more menacing tension in the air. There is a menacing tension in the air here today, isn't there? I suppose. Yeah, I think so. But hopefully, like, this looks better, though. I hope that this looks better. And also more pop out, because now that I found a way that if I need to record stuff, I can take myself away, I can just put myself back on a green screen now. It's no issue now. It can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant. A little more courtesy, if you please. Oh my, I do apologize. What makes the sloth guilty? Guilty of being entertaining. However, you're certainly not mistaken that this trial is far from ordinary. What do you mean? I'm not privy to the details. However, I understand that no jury has been selected. No jury? A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like the modern Phoenix Wright games, right? There is no jury. The trial of the professor 10 years ago. A closed court. Good morning, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes. Have you made note of my hair, Miss Naruhodo? An outright victory for science, you must agree. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. Huh, what to one man is a little hair problem, is to another a day of drinking dubious potion after dubious potion. You have no idea how my stomach ails me this morning. Oh dear, how awful for you. I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you looking so full of him. By the way, chat, I hope you made your tea today. If you did not make your tea today, you are guilty of being dehydrated. Oh! Huh. Actually, it's just right. Oh, that feels great. Oh, you got jury duty coming up? Oh, that stinks. I went to one before, and man, was it not fun. I was only there for the day. I was only there for one day, thank goodness, because I did not want to be like, I play Oh, wait. Next time you want to get out of there, if they ever ask you, like, something about yourself, just say, I played a video game called Phoenix Wright, and I always make sure they come out guilty. Just be like, I know how this works because of a video game. They'll look at you like you're crazy and get you out of there. I mean, I don't think it's worked, but I haven't seen it worked in action, but it could work. But yeah, jury duty's not fun though. I know it's part of your, you know, your duty as a citizen and all that, but man, it's just bored. Oh man, this is crazy good. Hey Bebron, welcome to the stream, how's it going? And I see London's celebrated great detective is as active as ever. Let's see, how's it been? I've been okay. Everything's been okay. I mean, you can clearly see I'm okay, right? And then I pull down the green screen and you just see, like, chaos. Let's see. You're hoping that once you get chosen, you can get off the fact that you're diabetic and B, don't drive. Basically, they're not gonna double check. Just say, like, really different things to try to get out of there. If you really don't want to do it, just try to find a way to get out of there. There are people who do want to do jury duties because, you know, they get to be part of the trial and all that, but, you know, you can say things like, oh, my job really needs me, like, I can't get out of this, or I got an important vacation coming up that I can't skip, like, but otherwise, you can just say weird things, too, that'll get you out of there. You can make yourself sound crazy, and they won't accept crazy people. You can always say, oh, I'm extremely biased, or I consider, like, I judge people based on how they are. Like, I can take one look at the person and just say you're guilty or not guilty. Come on, Blue, but don't say that, because if I said that, I'm not saying that to get out of that. If I say that, that's a conscience that's going to live on me for the rest of my life. And that's not something I want to be with. I'm not going to be like, oh, guess how I got a jury duty? I said blah, 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 and everybody will look at me like I'm crazy. Which is true, I am crazy. Yeah, but enough of that, you know, don't need to say that you're that or that. That's just bad. Anyway, back to the game though. Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow. Compared to my paltry engagements with a few trivial cases, the Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point on which I would readily commend you. What an honor. And that would be if only trials were as fun IRL as an ace attorney. I mean, things would be crazy different if, like, everybody would be like, wait, ace attorney? I want to live out my fantasy as an ace attorney. Here I am. Your eye for a good lawyer, sir. But Mr. Sholmes. After all, behind this lawyer there is a very great mind, my own. What are you trying to say? I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Just tell him that Pac is back. Okay, what brings you here to trial, dude? To jury duty. Pac is back. He's chomping at his feet. Pac's our hero. Pac just can't be yeah. Pac is yellow. Pac a cream. Pac is a chowing down machine. Do. Pac-Man rules. Sorry to barge in. Did I get more emote slots? What do you mean, Pixel Dog? Did I get more emote slots? Like, is there something different? Is there something different recently? Hey! Oh, poor Gina. Gina! What's that on her arm? It's a morning band, I suppose. Father, shouldn't you be at the symposium? It's been postponed, so I have some free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming student in action. I shall be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year. Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there are some fruits to see. Ado. Oh, yes, Gina? Why'd you agree to this, eh? Why'd you take him on? This Reaper bloke, everyone says it was him, what? What killed the boss? I'm sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that. Well, if it weren't him, who was it? I don't know that. Yet. I don't care who calls him what. The Reaper's just a name. He's just a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was him what killed the boss, then God help him. By the way, chat, just to make sure, is my face cam okay? Like, it doesn't look like I'm looking down too much, right? Because the screen's right here, but the reason I don't do front cams a lot is because I'm worried that I'm looking down a lot, and there's nothing to look down on. It just looks like that because the camera's angled a little bit down, so is it all fine? Do I look good? Did I put enough makeup on? Did I get my mascara on and everything? I hope everything's okay. It's all good? Okay, good. I was about to have a heart attack, and I didn't want the chat seeing me have a heart attack. Yet. But yeah, the thing is, I realized that now I can separate the gameplay for when I record and stuff like that. I can do the green screen thing again. Now that I found a way to do everything, so I can edit better, and I can keep the stream separate, blah 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 blah. Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing. Huh? At least that may be some solace to the deceased. Poor Gina. She really cared about Gregsy. Please, Otto. Get whoever did this for the boss. Oh, Gina. I hate feeling this useless, but there's nothing I can do. So you've gotta find who done this and make the wretch pay. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court will be in session shortly. Make your way into the courtroom at once, please. Alright then, here we go. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. Lord Van Zeeks. It's time, we gotta find out who killed him. One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. All that misfortune, all that pain, on course to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shine a light on all these dark events. And whatever truth is revealed, we're going to have to look it straight in the eye. Alright, let's do it. Who's ready to find out the truth? Ow. The Old Bailey courtroom. Here we are. Oh, this is weird. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct the fair and just trial of the defendant Barrack von Zeeks. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin? The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Oh, Kazuma-sama. I've been wishing to see you in court again for so long. It feels... But I never pictured it happening like this. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecution's bench. The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been a scourge like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today, we must uncover the truth behind this scourge. In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder. The truth revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions through the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial with no members of the public present, by Her Majesty's direct orders. How will that work, my lord? The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the jurors' bench shall remain vacant today. I'm just saying, so now it's just regular court. Now we're just going back to regular court. This is weird that this whole... Now, out of nowhere, there's no jury. If no members of the public are present, might I ask who is currently occupying the gallery, my lord? They are members of the judiciary, here to witness proceedings and ensure an equitable trial. Members of the judiciary? Oh my, this is a very unusual trial already. There is of course another unprecedented aspect to these proceedings on which I must elaborate. The counsels for the prosecution and the defense are both aliens of Great Britain. Oh yeah, we are. I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. And as I stand here in this courtroom now, I'm quite certain. This is the reason why I had to come to Britain. Kazuma? Very well, let us commence proceedings. Prosecution Asogi. Prosecutor Asogi, your opening statement if you please. Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on 1st November at just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old single-room rental property. Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson, a name known very well indeed to this court. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest cases 10 years ago. The Professor case. How sure are you about the time of the incident? Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot, and all have reported at the same time. Yes, that's what Gina told us too. There were a number of witnesses. I have here a plan of the room. Aw, great. Chad, you know how much this hurts me? This really hurts me right now. Knowing that Tobias Gregson, one of the best inspectors I've ever got to know, is gone. What the flip? Why would they treat him like that? Are they trying to kill me too? Because that's what's going on. Why would they do that to me? The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed that he was shot from the front at point-blank range and died instantly. How has the range been determined? There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. But powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of a barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range. I see, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, counsel. Alright, so now we got the autopsy report. The murder weapon was found lying beside the victim. Let me just read this real quick. Tobias Gregson, 45, British, time of death. Victim was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at point of entry. The bullet exited the body from behind, so it went through. The caliber of the gun used matches that of standard issue firearms for members of the judiciary. Alright. So the murder weapon. And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm? No, my lord. Not conclusively. Bravo, Kazuma-sama, for not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance can't be proven. Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There was a candelabrum mounted on the wall, and the tip of one of the candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile. We noticed that too, didn't we? Yeah, that's right. Thank you for the thorough report, Counsel. The setting of the crime is clear to me. You will submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, please. As you wish, my lord. Alright, so far so good. Is this Fresno Street room Inspector Gregson's private abode? No, my lord. The room is rented to a Mr. Hugh Boone. But there is precious little furniture inside, and it is generally in a poor state of repair. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there? Presumably he was investigating some case or other. When a policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside, holding the revolver. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot. So, the details of the case are clear. In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. A name, please, counsel. Naturally, the accused himself. Lord Von Zeeks? As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of office he's taken and will be compelled to tell the truth. Oh dang, it would suck if he came in and said, I did it, I shot him. By the way, chat, has audio been okay so far? Game and chat audio been all good? I hope so. Very well, let the defendant take the witness stand. And there he is. So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Barrick Von Zeeks, Old Bailey prosecutor. I presume, Lord Von Zeeks, that you heard Prosecutor Asogi's opening presses. I did. It is alleged that you were found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this? Yes, my lord. Then I'm sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away. Namely, why were you there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question? And what exactly took place? I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth. I must say, Lord Von Zeeks, I never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come, but since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony then, witness? Oh boy, let's see what we got to hear from him. Witness testimony time. Facts of the incidente. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked up the firearm to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. Do I have to find... Is he lying though? That testimony was the whole truth? It was. So, you heard a shot being fired in a room with no living occupants. And moments later a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes. Is that it? You're right. You haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse. I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Asogi. It would appear to be a singular tale indeed. Singular isn't the word, it's laughable. What's gotten into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all. Very well then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. So I gotta find out if he's lying about anything, but here we go. I'll keep pressing him until we find something. Let's do it. I was investigating Gregson and my inquiries had led me to that address. You were investigating the inspector? What on earth for? I'm not at liberty to say. Sorry? I'd identified a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed. Is the court to understand, then, that on the day in question you followed the victim to the scene? No, I was privy to his movements in advance. I was privy to his movements in advance. Did I say moment? How? I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry. You illegally entered the man's office? In Japan, that alone will constitute a very serious offense. As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord Von Zieks? I was aware of the possible consequences. So, in summary, you were investigating the victim, and yet, you refused to tell the court why. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Why did I ever think I could defend this man? When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. Had you ever been to the address before? No, never. I only learned of the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything. But at 5 p.m. the sun will only have just gone down. It would still have been reasonably light outside. The room has a window, but it was boarded shut. Very little light found its way into the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. I wouldn't have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor. There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure? I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for sure. Welcome to the calm before the storm. But I don't like storms. But yes, hello fandom, welcome to the stream, how are you? Is this really the calm before the storm though? Like, am I in for a rude awakening when it happens though? And plus, I want to know how rude. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. There is a small desk in the room just here. Yes, I remember. And there was an oil lamp on it, as well as the framed photograph. When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate. And what did you find? Nothing. I never actually reached the desk. I went at a snail's pace. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. So, who fired the gun? I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room. But you say it was very dark in there. Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is, I didn't sense another's presence. Then could it be that the gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room? No, that's out of the question. Oh. Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder. Ugh, this is going from bad to worse. And you say that's the point at which you noticed the revolver on the floor? Correct. And I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part. Does anybody... Okay, I want to know how many cases always start with the freaking defendant always picking up the gun every time. First time it happened, I think it was case 4 of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, where Edgeworth picked up the gun after, you know, he was almost shot at on the boat. Merry Christmas. Gun. Presumably then, the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands. In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not. What? The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of spent powder. Oh, but, wait, the literal first case of this game, not a holdup, picked up a gun. Does everybody like picking up guns here? Everybody just likes picking up guns on the floor. It's like, oh, I heard a gunshot, gun! It's like, let me put my freaking fingers and DNA all over it. Yeah, sure. Oh no, I'm guilty. Literally. Literally every single time. It always happens this way. Oh, flick. Oh, flick. Oh, flick. Oh, flick. Oh, flick. I knew it. I knew it. This always happens. This always friggin' happens. Look at that. Do you see where I am now? Do you see where I am now? I'm like way in the distance. Let me just fix that. Yeah, there we go. Hopefully this is better. Just let me hide the microphone and everything. I just knew, like, once we tested that out, I wanted to see what would happen. And look what happened. I don't look too low or anything, right? Yeah, this looks... I hope this looks fine. I'll fix it next time. I just don't want I don't want the freaking microphone to be shown at all. Just let me fix it real quick. We'll get to it in a second. Sorry. I'm sorry. Hey, Blazing Nice. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Just fixing myself for a second. Boop. Every single time. It's always a pixel stream when things go awry. There we go. Perfect. Get a green mic. I just gotta drape this in green, don't I? Wait. If I put the mic in green, it's gonna show, like, it's gonna cover the bot. No, wait. If it's green, it will just show... No, wait, what? No. No, whoa. How does the green screen work? I mean... Yeah, there would be a hole. The green would be, like... yeah, I'd be having a mic-shaped hole in my chest. I would have a mic-shaped hole in my chest. I'm pretty sure people will love that. But let's test this again. Boop. There we go. It should be working now, but let me go fix this up real quick. This should be near me, so let's fix that. So put you here, buddy. There you go. Look at the little bonking boy. Isn't he a good boy, chat? He's a good boy. Hey, Joker. Dang, it's been a long time. How are you? I'm doing okay, just playing Phoenix Wright. Well, I mean, yeah, whatever. But when on earth is the gun that was fired? Whilst I would like to oblige you with an answer, I'm afraid... Wait. Oh. For a second there, I thought there was like a little... I thought my webcam was showing a little glitch right there. No, that's just freaking... That's his freaking hand, his arm. Yeah, that's his glove. His glove is showing right there. I thought something was off with the game, but no, that's his glove going through the hole. My eyes. I'm afraid I can. I too would dearly like to know that. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. Hold it! But yeah, Joker, how have you been, though? I hope everything's been alright in your disappearance. A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume? That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street. Who are these merchants? A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger... A news what? And a peddler. They've all given statements saying they heard the gunshot. And without thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened. It's been hectic these past few months, but you're finally able to enjoy your break. Have I been holding up? I'm still going. I'm still going. Why am I looking over here? The chat's over here. You're right there. I'm alright. I'm still going, though. Yeah, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she? They burst through the door with some force, it would seem. By the way, chat, you know what's crazy, though? I'm so freaking happy that we're getting a Battle Network collection. Yet, Capcom is still not showing us anything new with Phoenix Wright lately. Where the flip is Ace Attorney 7? After this, I'm probably gonna go to Dual Destinies, so pretty much after this, I got 2 of the mainline games to go through. Possibly the Edgeworth games afterward. I don't know if I'm gonna play the Edgeworth games anytime soon, I don't know. I got 2 of the 3DS games to go through, and that's basically it for the mainline series. Can you believe how much Ace Attorney I've played? I played so much Ace Attorney. But then this Danganronpa, they did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process. You might get Battle Network. Oh, Battle Network is a great series. When the collection comes out, I'm playing it. I'm playing the collection. I want to know, besides like the text update, what else did they change? I want to know if they like fixed up translation issues, if they made it easier to get certain chips and stuff like that. Possibly some cut content. I mean, if they can fix these games to make them better, like especially 1 and possibly 4, I hope. You pass by before the last time you need to sleep early. Oh, finding a job. Gotcha. Best of luck in getting a job though, Joker. Speaking of crazy things, CV, I wanted to mention, you mentioned on the Discord that you bought the Callie and Marie amiibo for like half the price of what you've already seen. Wow. Congrats on getting that though. The bonus feature will be Ace Attorney 7. If you beat all of Mega Man Battle Network Collection, Legacy Collection in less than a day, you get to play Ace Attorney 7 for free on the spot. That would be funny though. But you're supposed to be the Reaper. The first man to come in immediately noticed a revolver in my hand and fled. A policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred. Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear? Holy flip, long text. You wasn't planning on it, you saw it pop up in your recommended because you were going to look for something else, you clicked on it, it was on sale, you got it. Yeah, because they don't sell the Callie Marie... They don't sell the Callie and Marie amiibo anymore, right? Those are rare now, so congratulations on getting those. Although, you know who else will want the money? Me! I'm joking though. Imagine a sloth amiibo. I'd still say the cutest amiibo, some of the cutest amiibo, are the Yarn Yoshi amiibo, the Chibi Robo amiibo, and the Box Boy amiibo. Those are adorable amiibo. Let's see. The problem is what you want. It's just grades. You want grades. Everybody wants good grades. I want good grades. But it's over now. If you could sculpt, you would make one. Trust you. Sabi, you're gonna become a streamer. Don't focus on me anymore. Focus on your streams. When it is the grand reveal of Sabi the VTuber. Imagine you start up and you're actually a VTuber though. I mean, you could become a PNG tuber. Has anyone heard of PNG tubers where it's actually VTubers, but it's like 2 pictures, one picture of you not talking and one with your mouth open, so every time you talk, it's like, and I like this every day. Like, those are PNG tubers. They're basically, it's a cheaper way to become a VTuber without the model and everything. It doesn't track you, but it moves when you talk. Like, I could become a PNG tuber if I choose to. Like, imagine it's just me, but 2 pictures, so it's like... Like, it's just me, but 2 pictures. I'm literally just a slideshow of pictures when I'm talking. That'd be funny. I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and then suddenly, there it was. Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand? At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of the man who came inside first. Nothing more. I see. After the man fled, I examined the body. By the way, who here in chat watches VTubers? Don't lie to me. If you watch VTubers, be honest with me. Let's see, you were thinking about PNG tubing, but your current plan is just to have a static image of your Sona? I mean, you could become a PNG tuber, just have two pictures of your Sona. One with mouth open and one with closed mouth. That's it. PNG tubing is super simple. Instead of a static image, just have two images. Go. Just do that. Do I count? I mean, I don't do VTubing anymore. Not much anymore because people prefer this. People prefer this over the VTuber model, which I find insane. But, I don't know. I guess I can count. The bonk broke again? Did the bonk break again? Let me check again. No, it's working. It's working. I think I need to refresh it because I moved it. I think when I moved it, I have to test it and then blah blah blah. So it works. For me, that is. Just, I mean, I know I flattened anyway, but call it a phantom bonk. Like the dog was there, but the dog wasn't there, but I still got bonked. So either way, bonk. Still got bonked. But yeah, I'm enjoying this game so far, Joker. This game is actually crazy. Great Ace Attorney 2 is already going crazy. People are telling me that this is the calm before the storm. But let's move on, though. I was stunned to find that it was Gregson. Most curious circumstances indeed. How the inspector was killed or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere. I have no idea.
Objection.
Oh. Surely the court has heard enough. My lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Barak von Zeeks, is lying on multiple fronts. Isn't that my job? What is that supposed to mean? Good gracious, counsel. The defendant is lying, you say? In his testimony just now, he claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark. That's correct. No, that's impossible. As proven by this candelabrum. How does that prove anything? If you you examine? You examine the tip of the long candle. You can see it has been blown off by a powerful impact. Let's see, do I prefer the mainline AA games or these ones better? I don't know, the original trilogy, the OG trilogy remains in my heart because of the characters and how Trials and Tribulations ended. So I prefer the mainline one so far, especially the main trilogy because of how much it influenced me on this series. If I played the other way around and played Great Ace Attorney before the original trilogy, it might have changed my mind. But I like this very much. I like this duology a lot. But look at that. You examine the tip of the long candle. You can see it has been blown off by a powerful impact. One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle. The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length. Yes, I can see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the bullet is long. We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all three candles together. Which begs the question of why only one has ended up longer than the others. That must be because that candle was extinguished when the others were still burning. That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. But the other two candles would still have been burning, so the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum. And the accuser's claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts. And now to the next lie. There's more? The accused also claims never to have visited the scene of the crime before. That's the truth. In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings. Yes, that's right, we saw it too. It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they included a number of reports from various historical cases, the oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar. And there is a common thread linking all the documents on that board. Indeed. What is this common thread, Counsel? They all relate to cases prosecuted in court by Barak von Zeeks. All of them? And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted. Good lord! Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper. Oh no. In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout and his base of operations. The Reaper's hideout? And yet the Reaper would claim never to have been to his own secret hideout? No one would believe that. No, the truth is, we've been looking at this backwards. Backwards? Explain, Counsel. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine. By the Reaper's hand! What? That stands though. Order! Very well, I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Barak von Zeeks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Prosecutor Asogi's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts. All I have done is state the truth as I know it. Kazuma's done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case, and it's formidable. Counsel, you will submit the board that you just showed the court as evidence. I believe it to be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence. Thank you, my lord. Holy flip, Kazuma's a tough prosecutor. This is his first prosecution case, and now all of a sudden it's like, dang. Oh, wait, there's a handprint back here. Oh, what's this? Mr. Naruhodo, look! Oh yeah, it's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks just like a handprint. And the color, that's blood, isn't it? Oh dear, how disturbing. Oh. Oh yeah, and the victim for this whole thing really hurts though. When I first got to it, I'm like, I was shocked. I was speechless. I was silent. It just hurts. There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back to years on here, aren't there? This paper from 10 years ago is browning with age, look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh, it's the same Redheaded League advertisement that Mr. Sholmes had picked out. And do you remember, there was a red hairpiece at the scene too? Was Inspector Gregson an expert in the Redheaded League then? Was he trying to... Yeah, it seems like he was trying to find out more about the Redheaded League, I guess. That's my guess. And now the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses who saw events unfold on the day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room. Very well, lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand. Certainly, my lord. Like, what the heck, Kazuma? Oh. Oh wait, it's him! It's the freaking cart driver! So, witnesses, state your name and occupations for the court. What do I... How do you do this? Names? We don't use names far too fancy for the like of us. We're just free and easy, sell what we like, live where we want to live. I give them all a vacant stare as they walk down Fresno and spin a few words into a verse for them. A Spella? No, it's not a Spella. Oh, dang, I miss a Spella. Would I be right in assuming that all three of you make your living by selling wares on the street? Hey, Coco, welcome to the stream. How are ya? Everyone calls me Gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits? Wait, is it tidbit or titbits? What is it? Is titbit a word? Hold on, I need to see if that's actually a word. Titbits. That's no noun. Oh, tidbit, noun, titbit. So titbit is actually a word. Okay, I thought I had been thrown up at that word right there. Interesting. Jaunty little titbits? Got an absolute smasher for you, sir. Right up your ginnel it is. 6 pence is the price and not a penny less. Wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now? Oh, come on, sir. Don't tell me you're not interested. Try the man. Give him the money and see what it is. What do I think when Kazuma came back? Coco, hold on, Coco. I need to... This game is throwing off twists and turns. Like it's twisting my freaking spine into a pretzel with every twist this game has. Freaking Kazuma coming back. Crazy. Freaking Gregsy dying. Crazy. What else does this game have? What does episode 5 have that is gonna make me jump out the window in what could be the calm before the storm is what the chat has been telling me. But of course, to everybody who has played this game, no spoilers though. It's crazy though. But yeah, Coco, what brings you here tonight? Paid the man council. Alright, 6 pence it is. Welcome back to Ace Attorney. I mean, it's not like a, yeah, pretty much welcome back. I played the original 3, Apollo Justice, the crossover with Professor Layton. I played Great Ace Attorney 1, then 2, next up will be Dual Destinies. That'll be my next one. You won't regret it, sir. Now, got your listening ears on? Just between us, a young couple on Slight Street had just had twins. That's what gossip goes for nowadays? Is that it? Apollo made your brain hurt? Like the game Apollo Justice? How to make your brain hurt? So let's see, after Dual Destinies it will be Spirits of Justice? Possibly. No, that's not it. It's gossip, isn't it? It wants to spread, but that bit's up to you and your mouth, of course. I've got more, you know. Want another juicy one? 6 pence a piece it is, if you're curious. I am... Oh, the Mason thing. And how... Apparently from what I've heard, they never brought it back. I am curious, yes, about what's going on just under that fat bottom lip of yours. Namely that unusual bruise or whatever it is that's poking out from under your collar. Someone got a choke. What about the next witness then? What name do you go by and what do you sell? Me? I'm Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, innit? Whoa. I sell these lovely little fireworks to all the local school... I sell them to all the school kids right at class. Who wants fireworks until they kick me out? Oh. 6 pence a pop. What do you say? Did she just lit... She just went... She was like... Tss. You weren't exaggerating with little. Did he actually sell? Oh yeah, the second years can't get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them that if they get 100, they could blow up the school. Goodness. It's Gina 2.0. Hey, no one's better than Gina. Gina is amazing. Not the most savory of ideas, young lady. What do you say then, eh? Wanna part with 6 pence for a pop? Wait, what? You want me to buy one? tell you what, I'll let you in on a little secret. If you get 100 of them, you can blow up the whole court. I like Venus. Try the woman. Give her the money and see if she's right. Pay the women council. Alright, I'll buy one. Lovely stuff. Right then, this is something a bit extra just for you. Oh, the Venus special, only 600 pence? 600? It's 100 of my regular fireworks. Nothing little about that, is there? And there'd be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the old Bailey either. I guess I got firecrackers. Fantastic. And the last witness, what name do you go by and what do you sell? I'm a thinker, me. Think all sorts of thoughts. I think, therefore I am, therefore I think. The thinker was made from him! This guy! Beppo is the thinker! They made the... Friggin' Larry Bunce made the thinker based off of him. He thinks, therefore he is. This guy is the thinker, which killed Mia Fey, which I'm really sad about still. What the flip? Even though I played Ace Attorney a long time ago, I'm still sad that Mia Fey is dead, though. So, yeah. It's because of Beppo. Beppo is the reason Mia Fey's dead. Beppo did it. Hundreds of years ago. Because I stand there on the street, watching the world go on about me. They call me the Observator. Get out of it, old man. Everyone calls you Sandwich and you know it. So, you don't actually sell anything? But problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. I give advice I do and what I think it means. Hot? Actual hero? Hot, actual hero? I don't actually sell anything, no, come to think of it. Pity. No more purchases today, please. Try the man. Well, we have quite a cast here, it seems. They conduct their business on Fresno Street from morning until night, my lord. And always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene. I see, and thus they heard the gunshot, I suppose. Mia will always remain one of my favorite characters, but you know what would be crazy if I played through the entire Ace Attorney series and I make a tier list of my favorite characters. Well, main characters, because the Phoenix Wright series has so freaking many characters. Alright, so Mia Fey S tier, Maya Fey A tier, Phoenix Wright A tier, Apollo Justice F tier, the Gaviners S tier as well, because I got to see that video where he gets burned up by the guitar and he's so orange and he freaking breaks the guitar because it's on fire, that I like him for that. Godot, he'd be a double S tier because Godot. Edgeworth, he'd be a triple S tier along with Phoenix Wright again because of course they're meant to be together. And then you get who else do we have? Winston Payne, quadruple S tier because he's amazing and everything. We also have Mimi Miney, Octo S tier. That's 8 S's right there. Old Bag, Super. So, alright, chat. So in the future, if we ever get through all the Ace Attorney games so far, we'll try to do a tier list, alright? We'll try to do a tier list of all the characters that we know of. We'll try that. It's gonna take a long time, but we'll try to make the Pixels by Night definitive Phoenix Wright series tier list, if I can make one. Not only that, but they very bravely ran inside to see what was going on and witnessed the crime. Well, I'll be beggared, I thought, just between us. Venice de Milo, what am I to do? What a terrible thing I saw. What I think is, if all what we see is light and shadow playing with our eyes, is any of it real? What was that supposed to mean? Very well. The court will hear the formal testimony of these 3 witnesses now. This will be my first tier list, right? Never made one before, so yeah. Tracy and Iris S plus tier. So we gotta have S plus tier, S, A, B, C, D, F. You will describe in detail what you witnessed and heard at the time of the incident. A game of Pixels by Night versus X8. Wow, I can't read. I'm sorry. I've been reading all of this. I can't read chat. It's weird though. I mean, I have been playing Danganronpa as well. No E tier. Nobody uses E. They usually go A, B, D, F. Who uses E in a tier? The Witnesses account. We saw the whole thing from start to finish. We did everything from the moment they went into the building. It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we all heard a big bang. Seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go and see what had happened. I ran into the room and there he was. The Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body. I was scared after death me, so I ran out to find a cop. Alright, short. You play Danganronpa as well? What games? I've recently just finished the first one, my first time going through the series. I was thinking of playing 2 probably late next month or early August. I'm taking a break in between. But yeah, I am a variety streamer, so I'm playing all sorts of games, Coco. So you're more than welcome to stay here as long as you like. I mean, I wonder what brought you here. Was it me? Was it him? Was it him and me together? Oh my goodness. If these witnesses were there the whole day and saw everything, who did they see going inside the building? Only the victim, Inspector Gregson, and the accused, Barrick Von Zeeks. I've seen pictures of that Reaper in the paper. I know what he looks like. And just between us, folks love stories like this. I made myself a tidy sum already. But wait, the room was just one of several flats in the building. Someone from another flat could have done it. All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied. Of course they are. They're small, damp, dirty, and expensive to boot. The room in which the inspector was found is the only property in the building that's currently leased. And we know the leaseholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Boone. Huge Bone? The testimony the court has just heard would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see how anyone other than the defendant could have committed the crime. No! Thank you for your candor, my lord. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed to cross-examine the witness. Witnesses, yes, my lord. In a closed court like this without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. I like how we're just playing regular Phoenix Wright right now. We don't have a jury, we just have the witnesses. It's just regular Phoenix Wright. I have to break down this testimony, somehow. By the way, chat, how's everybody doing so far? Everybody all good? Let's see what we can find. We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Everything from the moment they went in the building. When you say they, who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson and defendant Lord Von Zeeks? I suppose so, the likes of us don't know the names of the high and mighty. But I'll tell you one thing, it was the old Reaper that went in last, that's for sure and certain. Just behind Inspector Gregson. Just behind Inspector Gregson? Did they arrive at the same time as each other? No, not at all. The first fella must have gone inside a good 15 minutes before we heard that gunshot. The victim arrived 15 minutes before? Are you sure about that? Am I sure? Does it seem likely that I've forgotten a fellow with bright red hair like that, does it? Oh yeah, because of the hairpiece. I'm doing alright, Coco. Yeah, his hair really were red, weren't it? Redder than my flaming fireworks even. By the way, speaking of fireworks, anybody dealing with fireworks sounds outside lately? Right now, I don't have any, but I'm pretty sure the closer we get to July 4th, I'm gonna hear Who's ready for that, though? That fiery red mop still burn on the inside of my eyelids, it is. Wait a minute, you're saying the man was a redhead? Weren't you listening, chump? Ah, he was a redhead, and he had a big trunk with him as well. But Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red, not by any stretch of the imagination. It seems likely that the person you saw wasn't in fact Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party. Oh wait, I forgot to check the fireworks thing. I've been checking everything else but the okay. So I should examine these. This has happened before where I keep forgetting to check the evidence, and then it's like, I know the evidence, but it's like, oh, Pixel, did you check the evidence? Oh, I did not. It's been updated. Now use it. 3D is weird. Have you had an idea, Mr. Naruhodo? You're staring at the end of the string of fireworks. Sorry, it's just that it's the Venus special. I was wondering what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like. Shall we find out? What? But she said it could blow up the courtroom. Alright, that was a fairly sizable bang. My ears are still ringing, Mr. Naruhodo. It sounded almost exactly like... Oh! You see, it always updates every single time. Another update. So they could have mistaken a firework for a gunshot. It seems likely that the person you saw wasn't in fact Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party. No, I hate to break it to you, but the witnesses are correct. What? Just have a look at this photograph of the victim taken at the scene. Wow. Aw, Gregson. Gregson, no. Yeah, that's Inspector Gregson, alright. And a red hairpiece. Of course, we saw one on the floor when we investigated the scene, didn't we? I still refuse to believe Inspector Gregson wore a hairpiece, though. So then why on earth would he have been wearing something like that? The color does seem to suit the man, one might say. The photograph will be submitted as evidence, please, counsel. This is such a sad way to end him. What the heck? And what became of the trunk that the red-headed victim was supposedly carrying? Dude, did I just see like a double right there? Like, I love how you inspect evidence. I hate that you inspect evidence. I mean, there's a reason why we have to. I mean, if you were in a real court case, you'd be right there, be like, yes, this is a phone, and I see a bloody hand mark on the back, which means that the victim must have been bleeding through his hand. Or that the phone was leaking something, I don't know. I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene. We are not stealing his endless chips and stuff like that. You know it only works when he's eating them. If somebody else picks them up, it's not endless. It's only endless because Gregson was eating them. If you just have it, it's just one fish in there and a couple of chips, that's it. So it just disappeared. What, do you expect those to have been watching the building every second, do ya? We definitely saw him in the dock going in, though, no question about that. The phone is leaking blood. Wait, you're telling me your phone doesn't leak blood, though? It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we all heard a big bang. By which presumably you mean the gunshot. I sell these little things, don't I? How would I know what a gunshot sounds like? But I've always thought it probably sounds a bit... like this, doesn't it? And you say that you heard the noise almost as soon as you saw the defendant here enter the building. That's right, it was almost straight away. Bang, it went just like that. Well, he's the Reaper, ain't he? Is what the French call a fait accompli. When the Reaper's around, people are going in the ground. I mean, that's what he does, isn't it? I think we get the message. The Reaper couldn't allow the inspector to live after he discovered his secret hideout. There can be no clearer motive for the crime. Does mine? I'm not telling. Yes. It's certainly an eminently credible motive. Great. And at that point, you ran inside, is that correct? You know, Chad, if you're gonna keep posting sus sloth, do you want me to play Among Us? I'll go straight to Among Us and only play by myself. And you're just gonna see me walk around that shit many times saying sus for about an hour. I say sus for 1 hour straight while doing nothing. That sounds like fun. Seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go and see what had happened. So, when Gossip ran to see what had happened, did you go too? Well, me, I'm a bit hampered, see. All the signs are that I can't move very well. Hold on, does it say why his name is Sandwich, not Beppo? A mysterious signpost who can be found on Oh, sorry about that. It's just that there's like noise going on, like somebody's freaking blowing leaves out there. I don't know if you can hear that noise blower out there, but it's loud. But yeah, why is Beppo Sandwich now? And what is with his lip? Well, I'm a bit hampered, see, all the signs are that I can't move very well. You were way behind, presumably, with that sandwich board around your neck and that big sign in your hand. What a great burden you bear. Pardon me for asking, Mr. Sandwich, but is it possible you and I have met before? You just realized that Beppo the salesman, he's the salesman because he got fired from the guild after the guildmaster found out he was overcharging. I mean, it makes sense, yeah. He got fired. Otherwise, he would still be talking about horses and not sandwiches. Is it possible that you and I have met before? I'm not anybody, me. The signs are what make me who I am now. I signed, therefore I am. I feel sorry for this guy. So, you weren't employed as an omnibus driver just under a year ago then? I might be mistaken, but I believe his trembling has intensified, Mr. Naruhodo. Yeah, I agree. He's clearly been through a lot. Turn down King Henry Street and the Black Widower's arms is just there. Oh dear, you've made him hide behind his sign. Life is full of surprises. I ran into the room and there he was. The Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body. There he was, Scott the Walls. So then, you were the first person to arrive on the scene, is that right? That I was. Kicked the door open like a professional I did and yelled out, "What's going on here?" Well, alright Joker, thanks for coming by. Lord of Antiques claims all he heard was a man scream though. And was it dark inside the room? No, not dark at all. There were candles burning on the wall. Really? And there was a fellow collapsed on the floor. Just between us is the first thing I noticed when I got inside. Ah, I see. Even though Lord Von Zieg's claims not to have seen any such lights on the wall, the next thing I noticed was someone standing right beside the body. The accused, Barrett Von Zieks. That's right, the pale-faced Reaper himself. I was a little shocked, I won't deny it, but I'm no lily-livered coward. I stood my ground and gave that Reaper a cold, hard stare myself. Oh, hold on, what the sandwich gotta say? Excuse me. Do you have something to add, Mr. Sandwich? What a weird thing to say. There's really nothing to me. Empty in the head I am, just two slices with no middle. So I don't know what you could want with me. Imagine if he was actually a sandwich. If he was dressed up as a sandwich, I'd probably die. I think that maybe you just remembered something? Haven't heard Mr. Gossip's last statement, I mean. What I think is we're all nothings, really. We try to dress ourselves up as something else, but at the end of the day, we're all just street sellers. That's enough out of you, Sandwich. Keep your trap shut now. Unless you want us to make you into a real sandwich. Oh, please do. When he saw the Reaper, he fell clean over on his backside. That's it? Oh, you rotten beggar. I told you to keep that a secret. He screamed, he did. He screamed and scrambled off on all fours. That's all I wanted to say. Mr. Gossip, is this true? The floor was dead slippery, that's why. Planted my hand in a filthy pool of blood, didn't I? Yuck! What? A pool of blood? But listen here. Even when I was sprawled on the floor, I still kept giving that Reaper a cold hard stare, and don't you forget it. Let's just go back a little. Did you say you got blood on your hand? I did. Happens to the best of us at times, doesn't it? So I was scared, so I slipped over. We can just keep it between us, can we? No, Mr. Gossip. I'm going to have to ask you to add that information to your formal testimony. Oh, if I must. Oh, if I must. The witness will amend his testimony to include the aforementioned details at once. So I gotta say, is Kazuma the most serious prosecutor we've had, or is that Edgeworth? I don't know who's the most serious one. And we're not gonna say Von Karma because Von Karma freaked the freak out. I slipped over and got blood on my hand, so I quickly wiped it off on the floor. Hold on a second. You wiped your hand on the floor? Van Seeks is super serious? Oh, I can't forget about Van Seeks. I've never seen him, like, change character. He's always been serious. Alright. So, from the ones that I know so far, except from Dual Destinies and Spirits of Justice, who is your favorite prosecutor in the series, besides the last two 3DS games? Who is your favorite prosecutor that I would know of? Well, who wants blood on his hands, eh? Horrible stuff. And they might have thought I'd done it. No ta. And you didn't think that might be a problem. Does it really matter if I left a few grubby handprints on the floor? They'll get cleaned up in the end, won't they? Don't make such a fuss, that's the message from all of us. Is something wrong, counsel? No, my lord. I didn't remember anything in the report about a bloody handprint on the floor, that's all. Don't come at me with all that, you can't intimidate me. I know what I did, I wiped it off on the floor, the blood. I wonder, could that be what happened? Mr. Naruhodo, I don't have all the answers yet, but I think we may have just uncovered a vital clue. I know exactly. On the back of the board, we found a bloody handprint. So let's get to it. Oh, right here, there's a bloody handprint on the backside.
Objection!
So you wiped off the blood from your hand on the floor of the room. Are you quite sure about that? Well, what else did you expect me to have done, Nate? Does it really matter?
Objection!
The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigations. What exactly is the defense asserting?
Objection!
If you listen, you'll find out, Prosecutor Asogi. Certainly, there was no bloody handprint found on the floor. What are you trying to say? There was a handprint in blood left very clearly at the scene. On the back of this notice board. Yes indeed. Indisputably a handprint in the distinctive color of blood. You're dead right, that's my right hand. I know it anywhere. Hot.
Objection!
The witness very definitely testified that he wiped his hand on the floor. Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant.
Objection!
Not if the board itself had fallen over onto the floor. In that case, it's quite possible for the witness's handprint to end up there. Just look at the floor plan of the room. The notice board was in the opposite corner of the room to the victim, and in an upright position. Even if it had somehow been toppled and was lying on the floor at the time, it would have been a considerable distance from the body. I fell over when I came across the body, so I was basically right next to the corpse, not on the other side of the room. In other words, the defense's assertion is contradictory. Yes, it is. Huh? There's a very definite contradiction here, for which there must be a reason. I take it that you formulated a proper hypothesis, counsel? Regarding this apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene. I have, my lord. This discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by... Another handprint, no. The board moving. False testimony. I'm gonna say the board moving. The real contradiction here is the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down. Good gracious, so it is. If the witness had put his hand against the board, the finger should be pointing upwards. What does that tell us? It tells one simple fact. When this handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor as I previously suggested, which means that after the incident, it must have been moved. What?
Objection.
You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting? Then tell the court who. I don't know that yet, but the point is, when you consider all the testimony we've heard so far, we can now be very clear on one point. And that would be the position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord. So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court. Oh, do I have to say where it was? At the time of the incident, where do you maintain the notice board was situated? If it was near the body, it has to be like around, I'm gonna say right here. This is the only possible location. Immediately adjacent to the doorway? If the court would think back to the testimony given by the defendant earlier, he said that when he entered the room, it was dark, and he couldn't see the body. But yuck! If the notice board had been here, the body would have been completely hidden from view, and the light from the candles would have been blocked, making the room appear darker.
Objection.
But the accused also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before him. That's true. Or in his precise words, just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. I don't know about calling it a scream, but he was talking about me and no mistake. Cause it was me that kicked the door open. If you look again at the floor plan, consider what would happen if the door to the room was thrown open with force. That was some good animation, wasn't it? That can't... The door struck the notice board, knocking it over, and making the victim's body visible. Good gracious. My client has told nothing but the truth. He has simply described what he saw. Ugh. Oh, we got him. We freaking got him. Counsel, how has this not come to light before now? After the incident, somebody must have righted the board and moved it into the position where the police, myself, and my colleagues saw it when investigating the room. How's everyone? I'm doing okay. How's everybody doing? Witness, what have you to say for yourself? What? Me, my lord? You and your fellows were there at the scene before anybody else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of the notice board. The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime. Stop looking over your glasses at me, I get the message. Alright, next testimony, let's do it. I don't know anything about that there notice board, I just wiped my hand on it, that's all. Well, don't look at me, I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time. I don't know anything about anything, I'm just a bystander, mate, just a sign at the crossroads of life. It was that Reaper, I bet. He's gotta face that Scream's board. What? I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. It's always Sandwich. What the heck? Sandwich always being sus. Suswitch. So none of you can elaborate further. Shaken by the crime they witnessed, and with only the light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which to see. We can't expect those witnesses to be able to give a more precise account of what happened. That's right, yeah. It don't pay to expect too much. It's man's endless quest for knowledge that's destroying the world, that's what I think. Do you? Really? In any case, as this testimony shows, even if the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident, it makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene. In short, the only person who could possibly have committed this crime is Barak von Zeeks. None of this wrangling over the board changes that simple fact. Quite so, quite so. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witnesses despite the circumstances? Most certainly, my lord. Very well, then you may proceed, counsel. Oh boy, trying to get through all these small facts to find out the big truth. Here we go. Mystery of the moving board. I don't know anything about that there notice board, I just wiped my hand on it, that's all. So you admit that it was the board you wiped your bloody hand on? Admit it? What's to admit? It's there plain as day for all to see, a smashing print on my right hand. The Extreme Squad Show event, nobody qualified in Fall Guys, everyone lost and the game was over. Ah, funny. What is the Extreme Squad Show? Is it all Extreme Games Extreme? Perhaps you wanted to hide that handprint, so you read at the notice board and pushed it into the corner, did you? No, imagine the weight of that great lump. Do I look like a powerful and well-nurtured man? Well, did you see anybody else moving the board? I've got nerves of steel, I can tell you, but even I have my limits. There was a body on the floor in front of me, and the Grim Reaper himself standing over it. And there was precious little light inside either. My bottom lip was all a quiver. If you fall, you die. Isn't that just me now? If I just fall, that's it. I'm so old, if I fall, I just crumble into dust. In other words, this witness is unable to give definite testimony on that point. Yeah, so it would seem. Oh, no respawns. Oh, that sounds awesome. Well, don't look at me, I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time. When you say you were doing business with them, you mean you were selling them fireworks? Yeah, what else? There's the Priory School just around the corner, see? Those cheeky little so-and-sos have got a plan to blow their school to Kingdom Excuse me? Excuse me? Venus is acting... Venus more like Vsauce. So I've been telling on them, letting their teachers know what they're up to. Oh, you have? Yeah, wouldn't want anyone to get hurt, so I let the school know the kids are playing with dodgy toys. Then praise the Lord, the teachers take all the fireworks off them. And then praise the Lord again, the kids all come back to me to buy more. Everyone's happy, see? What a racket. She's really running a racket. Stealing money from kids, well, getting money from kids, and then they spend more money. So, in the end, it just works. What a racket, though. Of course, and sometimes the teachers give me a little bonus to thank me for letting them know. It's a busy old life selling explosives. Venus is a guileful goddess indeed. Well, telling barefaced lies is my kind of thing, really. I'm ever so good at it. Did she just throw fireworks in the crowd? Oh. Sandwich is sussing everybody.
Excuse me.
First gossip, now Venus? Something wrong, Mr. Sandwich? If I said it was, could we just leave it at that? Would that be the end of it? No. Did Miss Venus's statement just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Philosophical thoughts. Deep philosophical thoughts. Let's say there was a great liar, and that great liar said without batting an eye, telling barefaced lies is my kind of thing, I'm ever so good at it. Would those words of hers be a lie too, or the truth, in which case she's not a liar? Oh, it's a hellish paradox, that one, don't you think? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, but it seems to me you're suggesting Miss Venus has been lying. Are you? are you on about, old man? Trying to cause trouble, are ya? Keep on like that. Oh, and I'll wrap your whole body in firecrackers and set them off. That'll give you something to tremble about. Oh, you have a startlingly disturbing mind behind that sweet and innocent face, young lady. Wow. So Miss Venus has lied in her testimony. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Sandwich? Well, if it means I'll be burning in hellfire for the rest of my days, so be it. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Can you elaborate, please, sir? Old Blabbermouth here headed for the room where the gunshot seemed to come from, but there was someone else who crept up the stairs behind him too. That's right, that rotten liar over there. Holy flip, Sandwich. Hey, Citrix, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Do you mean to say that you did in fact betake yourself to the scene of the crime after all? I used my bottom to light a match. Haha, I'm hot. What did I tell you, eh? Die! I said I was good at telling barefaced lies, didn't I? Yes, you mentioned it. Well, that revelation rocked the whole courtroom, didn't it? Who knew firecrackers packed such a punch? So you did indeed visit the scene of the crime, did you, young lady? Good grief! Well, now you come to mention it. I suppose perhaps. I do clearly remember climbing the stairs to the room, yeah. Either you clearly remember it or you don't. Well, I shall consider a fitting punishment for this perjurious act later. For the time being, you will immediately amend your testimony to reflect the truth. Oh yes, my lord, of course. Maybe I did sneak behind gossip and have a little peek into the room where it all happened.
Hold it!
You make a habit of lying, do you, Miss Venus? Well, I suppose so. I don't really know, to be fair. Did I see the presentation for Sparks of Hope? I did not. I don't want to spoil myself any further with the game besides the actual trailer. I already want to get the game. I enjoyed the first one. I still need to beat the Donkey Kong DLC, which I'll hopefully get to soon because it's been a long while. If you want my advice though, I take everything I say with a big pinch of salt. But yeah, how was the presentation for Sparks of Hope? Was that good? Was it a good presentation? I need to stretch real bad. Whew. Sorry, I had to do a big stretch. Sometimes big stretches are needed. Whew. Make sure you all stretch too, chat. Please stretch. Alright, but you did in fact go to the room where the victim was killed on the day in question, didn't you? Oh please, as if I would. I can't think of anything more terrifying. The truth, please. Well, alright, just a bit then. I mean, a girl my age is curious about stuff, you know? Did you touch anything at the scene? Oh please, as if I would. I mean, there was a dead body on the floor. The truth, please. Well, alright, just a bit then. I had to look to see if there was anything I could sell. So I did give the place a once-over, but it was nothing to write one about. Right. Now, I hesitate to ask, but you didn't move the notice board by any chance, did you? Oh, please, as if I would touch anything like that. Just a few bits of loose change is all I had. The truth, please. Well, alright then. I thought there might be something worth having underneath it, so I blasted the flippin' thing. Sorry, flipped the blasted thing. So she moved the board. You're telling us that you did move that board? I think that did slip out, didn't it? What? You daft barn pot! Barn pot? I don't believe it. The girl doesn't think. So, did you find anything then? Something that you might have taken, perhaps? To sell? Oh, please, I should be so lucky in my imagine- The truth now! I might have found this old pocket watch under the notice board, I suppose. But a bit of junk like this can't be worth much if you ask. Oh. Gina! So it was you, was it? You're the one who took it. Gina? Young lady, may I remind you where you are? That watch there. That was a present to Inspector Gregson from the yard for a big case solved 10 years ago. The professor case, no doubt. The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come out at the pub. I see. I swiped it off him once and blimey was he upset. He gave me a right earful. Said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did. Possibly not the best thing to go diving for then. It's not all that though. I took it to Jabez that night to ask how much it was worth, but the old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it. Said it wasn't working. Knocked about and worthless, he called it. I knew I should have lifted it. That watch must be submitted as evidence at once. Oh, please, just so long as you promise to give it back when we're done. Not a chance. I'll swipe it from you if you try to get your grubby mitts on it again. That's enough. Hand the watch to the bailiff forthwith. Now, children, watch your manners. Good lord. The glass appears to be broken. More than likely, it shattered when the inspector was shot. It doesn't take anymore either. Which is why Jabez didn't want it. What a waste, eh? Yes, indeed. It appears to have stopped at the hour of 5. Exactly when the gunshot was heard then. Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course. Ah, gotcha. The face is cracked. Let me go check that evidence over. I should probably just check everything over just in case, right? It's no longer ticking. The glass over the face really is badly cracked, look. What a shame when the inspector clearly looked after it so carefully. I imagine Mr. Sholmes could repair it, don't you? Yes, I should think so. He's very adept at things like this. A useful man to have around, in fact. Oh goodness, I need that water. But kindly remember that he's a great detective, Mr. Naruhodo, not an odd job man. He's always an odd job man. Oh, the windy. Ah, there's a tiny little keyhole here. Can you see? Oh, the key that we found. Oh yes, that's probably for the winder used to wind up the mechanism. It looks a little unusual, don't you think? Yes, you need just the right key to wind it, I imagine. Why do I feel as though I've seen something? Something a bit like a key that's about the right size to fit in this hole. It would be wonderful if we had the key. Let's check carefully over what we already found. Yeah, we have the thingy. There's a tiny little stub sticking out from the small hole here, look. I suppose there must have been a little knob or something on that for setting the time. In that case, seeing as we know the inspector took such good care of this watch, it probably broke when the incident occurred, didn't it? Yes, of course. Which could mean that there's a small part of the watch still at the scene, maybe. Hold on, I got the dingity-dang thing here. Where's that dingity-dang thing? Oh! There it is, the little poppity thingy. The helmet of this charming policeman appears to be a little worse for wear. Yeah, we did that. So what is it for, I wonder? Mr. Sato, do you think perhaps this key could be the key for Inspector Gregson's watch? Oh, yes, it could be. Let's try it at once. There's not a moment to lose. What a weird key, by the way. I knew it, a perfect fit. And look, the inspector's watch has started going again. Ah, so it has obviously just not been wound up, that's all. What is it, Mr. Sato? Well, if the watch isn't actually broken after all, I have a feeling it could have profound implications. She's deep in thought now. Perhaps I better start thinking deeply too. It's ticking again, okay. Okay, so now we know. Well, it would appear that the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved at least. And as predicted, it had very little bearing on the case. Now then, continue with your cross-examination, police counsel. The clock ticks now. I don't know anything about anything, I'm just a bystander, mate. Just a sign at the crossroads of life. We'll get back to that in a bit. But you did go to see what had happened in the room, didn't you? Fresno Street is my whole world, it's all I know. And I know all of it. I have to make it my business to know if I want to hold my sign up high. So you did go to see what had happened. It's not the destination that's important, it's how you get there, isn't it? Did you notice the notice board in the room? If you think about it, we're both the same species, aren't we? Both different members of the sign family. So if I spotted it, I might have tried to trip it up all of a sense of rivalry, I admit. Someone really needs to tell you that you're Homo sapiens, not Homo signians. Does that mean you didn't notice the board? I can only repeat what I said before. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign at the crossroads of life. In which case, just who was responsible for moving the notice board? We already knew. It was that Reaper, I bet. He gotta face that Scream's board. What exactly do you mean by that? Oh, come on now, don't tell us you'd not noticed. He looks like he hates everything in the world, that fella. But not notice boys, they're the one thing he likes. You can see it in his eyes. I can't say I ever noticed. I'll tell you one thing for free, though. I never took my eyes off that man on the floor, or off the Reaper, not for a second. Sorry? Well, I was that scared I couldn't. You never know what a theme like that might do if you look away, do ya? If you didn't take your eyes off the defendant, you should be able to confirm categorically whether or not he was the one who moved the notice board. Aye, that I can. The Reaper did nothing of the sort. I can swear to that. I couldn't have missed it if he heaved the thing up right again and dragged it into the corner. Right, glad we cleared that up. What happened to the face that screams bored? I feel your pain, Kazuma. It just screams bored, doesn't it? I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon that you all heard the loud bang, wasn't it? Maybe the notice board fell over, or maybe it didn't. Maybe I fell over, or maybe I didn't. But the Reaper's fate is sealed either way because of the gunshot that we all heard. So your fate's sealed too. My fate? That's right. The defense is fated to lose. And the prosecution to win. In other words, it all hinges on that single gunshot. So if I could just find some problem with that part of their story, it may be possible to change all our fates. Of course, none of that changes the fact that I heard what I heard, does it? Not much to go on. As you pointed out, Mr. Naruho, though, there's no question that the notice board was moved, so somebody must have done it. But it did happen after the event, so maybe Kazuma is right and it's not relevant to the case. But it seems to have been deliberately positioned so as to hide the body from view. So I feel sure that there's some deeper significance to all of this. Yeah, I know what you mean. I have no doubt there are more clues to be uncovered. You're on the right track, I can feel it. So follow your instincts. Alright then. Maybe I did sneak along behind gossip and have a little peek into the room where it all happened. The thing is now that we know the clock does move, do I present the clock? Let me just press this one again, see if anything different comes out. You certainly know how to lie. Oh, it was nothing really, just a little porky, with not so little implications. Did you know? Everything in the world apart from the truth is a big fat lie. If you believe that, of course, I'm lost. As am I. This desecration of the truth is really rather disturbing. I think perhaps we should move on to the next witness, A little peek, and then she found that watch. So should I go back to her and just present the watch now? I mean, I'll give that a shot, because
Objection!
Okay, that did not work. Never mind. There was nothing suspicious about that. I got you now. Okay, so I just gotta find out which one. Okay, alright. So let's see. He just wiped his hand on the board. We already got through with that. Maybe he did sneak along, and then she moved the board, got the watch. We already got that. I don't know anything about anything, just a bystander. It was that Reaper. He's got a face that screams bored. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. Or maybe, do we present it here?
Objection.
There we go. Right evidence, wrong part. I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case. Things did change. Oh. At the scene, we found this key to the winder of the inspector's pocket watch. A key? And having wound the pocket watch, we discovered that it in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises on which this entire case has been built. What? Hot. But counsel, the watch was stopped at almost exactly 5 o'clock. Yeah, which is when we heard that gunshot. It is exactly the hour. Pixel Dog, did you really try to time that when the fireworks came off, the fireworks popped, and then I get blasted? Is that what you're trying to do right there? The time that was showing on the watch tells us nothing other than when it wound down. It's merely a coincidence that it happened to be at 5 o'clock.
Objection!
Even if that's true, the 3 witnesses here all heard the gunshot at 5 o'clock. So that's obviously when this crime was committed.
Objection!
No, that doesn't hold. Why not? Recall what Inspector Lestrade said only moments ago. The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub. Said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years polishing it when winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did. The victim was in the habit of winding his watch once a day, in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece on the evening before he died as well. Yes, that would be entirely reasonable. But if that's the case, you wouldn't expect the watch to have completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day. Oh, well, how do you explain it then? In summary, the evening before the day of the incident, when the gunshot rang out in that room, the inspector was already unable to wind his watch. You can't mean... What would stop a man winding his watch if he's been in the habit of winding it every single evening for 10 years? The obvious answer is that he was already dead. Oh. Order! Counsel, that is a most extraordinary claim.
Objection!
Extraordinary isn't the word. It's absurd. You claim he was already dead the night before. Do you really think that Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that? Well... On that subject, there is something rather surprising. There's actually an omission in the coroner's report. The time of death is not noted. That's right. Wait a minute, you're forgetting that my legs went from under me when I kicked the door in. What do you mean? Like I said, I planted my hand in a dirty gray puddle of blood. Yes, so the victim's blood hadn't dried. It was fresh. He catches on fast, doesn't he?
Objection.
But that blood could be explained in any number of ways. It could have been put there afterwards. Some fresh blood could have been poured over the victim's body
Objection.
after... Does my learned friend think that fresh blood is available on every street corner? Learned friend? Is available on every street corner? Ugh. Well, it needn't necessarily have been human blood, of course. Ugh. We've been told previously that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human. The problem is currently being researched. At present, you are correct. It is beyond our abilities. So then, a chicken's blood could have been used, for example. It's certainly a possibility that it wasn't the inspector's blood at all. Oh dang, now we're getting chickens in here. Does that remind anyone of Danganronpa in any way? Chickens? But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock that afternoon, that's beyond question. Is it though? What? Given that the time of death of the victim has already been called into question, it isn't beyond the realms of possibility that what these witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all. Oh please, what are you trying to say? Us a lot know what we heard, and it was a loud bang that came from that there room. Now, where did that whip come from? Now you listen to me, a street seller's ears are his livelihood. He took that whip from the job, didn't he? I don't doubt your ears, sir, but all you can state with certainty is that you heard a noise. Explain yourself then, counsel. A noise that sounds like a gunshot could have been made with... This gun right here. This gun. Bang, bang, bang. That was that gun right there. It was these Venus firecrackers.
Take that!
Something like this. The corporal could have set off one of these to fake a gunshot. Good gracious, the very fireworks that are sold by the witness? Now hold on a minute, are you saying I did it? My pretty little firecrackers only make a little pop anyway. See? Not 100 of them together. The Venus special that you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. As the court can now attest, it sounds very much like a gunshot, in fact. Oh. You're trying to suggest that somebody set one of those fireworks off at the scene? I'm suggesting that somebody knew the defendant was in the room at 5 that day, and sought to implicate him by creating a sound like a gunshot for these peddlers on Fresno Street to hear.
Objection!
But even the accused himself has testified that he saw no one else in the room at that time. Whether it was a gun or a firecracker, the only person present to cause that bang was Barak von Zeeks. One whiff of a match and my firecrackers go pop. See? It's why people like them. I fear for your fingers, young lady.
Objection!
Recently, during my time here in Britain, I've learned of a very useful invention indeed. Something called, a time bomb. Good heavens, a bomb? Yes, a device that allows you to blow up whatever you like, whenever you like. Mr. Naruhodo, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident. No, wait. It's the whenever you like part that's important. A timed device? Yes, exactly. A timed device. Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot long after the culprit had left. Your extravagant claim will have to be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have to suggest in any way that a timed device was employed to create the gunshot sound? The only thing I can implicate... Could it be the candle? It could be the candle that, you know, once it burns off, it could just... Any way that a time device was employed to create the gun? I'm gonna say the candelabrum. As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of the candles in this candelabrum has been blown off. Indeed, because it was struck by the bullet, which presumably passed through the victim. I don't think that's possible, my lord. Not possible, why? Because of the scorching. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle. There are. Goodness, yes. But is it not the case that there was also scorching on the victim around the bullet entry wound? That's right, there was. But as we heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range, a matter of centimeters from the gun. Ugh. Which means that the scorching on the candle can't possibly be the result of a gunshot. You're suggesting it came from the fireworks? How can that be, eh? The fact that there's such visible scorching on the candle suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or to put it another way, the candle and firecrackers were joined together. The culprit somehow attached the fireworks at a point partway down the candle. After the killer had left the scene, the candle slowly burnt down along with the other two, until eventually it ignited the fuse of the firecrackers, generating a loud bang. And that solves the murder. And that is how these three witnesses came to believe they heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock. Well, what a plot. And this implies that the victim could have died earlier than we've been led to believe, the previous day even. Now just hold your horses. All is a lot here saw the victim going in the building, remember? I couldn't forget that flame-colored hair even if I wanted to. The person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. Consider this. Obviously, anybody could wear a wig, so the person that these witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes before the incident occurred could easily have been someone else entirely wearing the red hairpiece. Someone else? Do you mean to say it was the same person who contrived the firecracker trick? In other words, Inspector Gregson's killer! Oh, very impressive, Ryanosuke Naruhodo. Kazuma? I'm really quite amazed you've come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the makings of a great defense lawyer? I also noted the lack of a time of death in this report, a stark omission. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired. Prosecutor Asogi, what on earth do you mean by that statement? I hear that many of the leading members of Britain's judiciary are present to observe this trial today, so we cannot allow even the slightest doubt to be overlooked. The defense's assertion about the time of death based on the victim's stopwatch is just conjecture. But while the possibility exists that my learned friend may be correct, we have a duty to explore it. Well, certainly I would agree with you. And what immediately comes to mind is, of course, what was Inspector Gregson doing and where did he go on the day before the incident? Do you know? The inspector always carried out his investigative work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within Scotland Yard. Even within the yard? However, considering the evidence we've been presented with so far, I'd say it's fairly apparent what case the man was pursuing, wouldn't you, my learned friend? I do have a feeling about what case he might have been investigating. Yes, I agree, surely. My lord, the defense believes it can be explained to the court, the case that was being investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death. Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is suggestive of the case being investigated by an inspector on the day prior to the incident? It has to be the big board, right? Yeah, it's gotta be the notice board.
Take that!
I can't say that I found your answer suggestive of anything other than perhaps that it's utterly wrong. Oh. What? Congratulations, Ryanosuke Naruhodo. You deserve a reward for that expert display. Ah! Did you just draw Kuruma on me, my friend? I think, Mr. Naruhodo, that there's one particular piece of evidence that really does stand out in showing what case Inspector Gregson was investigating. Alright, I got the answer now. I really thought it was just on the professor case all these years ago. But could it be Mr. Virgil, or what exactly? Or am I actually just... Or could it be the photograph? No. Could it be that one?
Take that!
Ah, flip, it's wrong again. Okay, then my next one just has to be the Redheaded League then. Okay, so it was that. I believe this red hairpiece points to the answer. We might assume it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation. Surely not, such a brightly colored hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable. Yes, that's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in a crowd. Except, that is, in a crowd of gentlemen from the Redheaded League. The Redheaded League? So, you already worked it out. What on earth is this all about? Is there such an extraordinary league of gentlemen? The Redheaded League is currently under investigation for a grand deception. A deception of what nature, counsel? They've been targeting red-headed men across all of London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for the misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact. My lord, the defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at once. 2 redheads? Oh boy. Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Redheaded League using this hairpiece, so it's very likely that he had direct contact with these criminals. And it's quite possible that such contact led to more serious events. Hey, Mr. Popo, welcome to the stream. How are ya? I concur that we cannot in good conscience leave this new avenue unexplored. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, it's another possible line of inquiry for us, at least. The prosecution will make immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring these 2 Redheaded League conspirators before me, Prosecutor Asogi. At once, my lord. Very good, we will have a 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned. How am I doing? I'm doing alright. Just the usual. Nothing crazy. But now we're getting into the Redheaded League. We're gonna talk to 2 redheaded people and see what kind of sus stuff they've been doing, though. Alright, and we will continue that in just a bit. I'm gonna take a small break before we move on. So I'll play some music. You enjoy yourselves, and I'll be right back in just a bit. Just let me play some music mixes. Where's a good music mix I can play? There we go. Maybe this one. Maybe this one. There we go. I will be right back in just a bit. Hey, we're back. Apologies for the long wait. I had a stupid chat with my stinking roommate. Well, how's everybody else doing? Everybody doing alright so far? Oh, wow, it's super quiet. Let's get back in the game. Alright, let's do it. Let's get back in this. Hope everybody is doing A-okay on this night so far. We are back in the Old Bailey, ready for the next part of the trail. Oh, there you are, Otto. What kept you, my dear fellow? Hello, Mr. Sholmes, Gina. You sure about what you said in there? That the boss, you know, actually died the day before? It's pretty hard to swallow. Yes, I was shocked by the revelation too, Gina. As was I, possibly more shocked than both of you. It's not a competition, Mr. Sholmes. But I was more shocked than all of you put together. I win. This is the autopsy report in question, is it? Yes, it's strange that there's no time of death noted. I suppose there's a simple explanation, or perhaps it was a deliberate omission. Oh dear, if it was deliberate, it puts me in mind of the last case we worked on, and Dr. Sif. I know, anyway, it seems that on the day before Lord Van Zieks discovered his body, Inspector Gregson was investigating the Redheaded League, so perhaps something happened with them. Come to think of it, you had trouble with those League men too, didn't you, Mr. Sholmes? You were taken in by their trick. No. Naturally, I wasn't taken in as you put it. My sleuth hound interest was merely piqued slightly by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income. And that scent masked the underlying scent of deception, I suppose. The two criminals in question are the pair we saw being arrested yesterday, aren't they? In Mr. Sholmes' suite, I mean. That's right, Suze, and it was me who took him in. Thanks to a tip-off by a good law-abiding citizen. Indeed, yours truly. So it's gonna be that pair on the witness stand next, is it? Something doesn't quite make sense to me, though. The day before Inspector Gregson was found, you hadn't had trouble with the Redheaded League yet, had you? Why would the inspector have been investigating them? Well, the likely explanation would be that Gregson's own sleuth hound interest was piqued by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income. Don't tar him with the same brush as you, Holmes. Sholmes? Yes, well. Then there's the whole issue of Inspector Gregson being investigated by Lord Van Zieks for some reason. The Reaper, the Redheaded League, Inspector Gregson, Lord Van Zieks, and Kazuma. I feel as though he knew we arrived at this point somehow. Gosh, I think you're right. What's he really trying to achieve here today? All the answers will soon be revealed. Observe the time, my dear fellow. This recess will be over very shortly. Yes, you're right. Kazuma was determined that he should be the one to prosecute this trial, and he was determined that I should take the defense. Just what is it that he's hoping to make me see, I wonder? I get the feeling we're a long way from the end of this trial yet. Oh boy. Are you ready then, Mr. Sato? Yes! It's gonna be a long trial. Hello, Van Zieks. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed court of hearing Baron Van Zieks, here present, who stands accused of murder. Now then, Prosecutor Osogi. My lord, have you summoned the witnesses as requested? Yes, the two members of the Redheaded League who planned and carried out the deception. They arrived not long ago from the local prison by police carriage. Very good. Bailiff, usher the two men into the courtroom. Spaghetti? That's some long spaghetti. These two men are currently being held by the police on suspicion of attempted extortion. You may omit your occupations, but state your names now for the court. I am Fabien de Rousseau. Rassou. Is it Rassou or Rousseau? A descendant of the great de Rousseau family from Nice in France. And my name is Peppino de Rossi. I am the third son of the great Familia de Rossi, the landowners from Napoli. Mamma mia. The two men first became acquainted at the boarding school for European nobility. Those who graduate from Temsic are the future leaders of Europe. But, do you have any idea how boring it is to be born with noble blood? Alors, I make it my mission to get the better of the world by employing the little gray cells in my brain. That is all I'm trying to do, huh? So, that's the only reason for this whole grand deception you've been carrying out? Oui, you could say that. Not bad, eh? He has the grand ideals, but the petty plans. This strange combination is of the charm of the hilarious brothers? Si, capo? Listen to me, Peppino. I have two things to say to you. Eh, che? Are you about to tell me one of your grandi anecdotes? Evviva! Firstly, I want you to stop calling me Z's capo. And secondly, we are not the hilarious brothers. This is serious business. Che bello, there it is, the capo's a trumpa card, the furrowed brow. It is deep, capo, the furrow and the meaning of your words. The court has been led to believe that under the banner of the Redheaded League, you have conspired to swindle money from unsuspecting members of the public. Is that true? Oui, c'est ça. And what exactly was the nature of this deception by which you plan to defraud? Alos, I will explain it. No, capo, leave it to me. As you see, we both have the vivid red hair, no? At school, we were teased for this without pity. The capo here, he was many times behind the schoolhouse, crying like the Trevi Fountain. Whiz, those dogs, one day the world will respect us redheads. Every night he would bury his head in his pillow and weep for the injustice. C'est bien, Peppino, enough. I will explain the rest. The first step was the newspaper advertisement. About 1 week before the plan was put into operation, we listed his name notice in every paper in London. Yes, we saw that notice. It was this one, I believe, entitled to the Redheaded League. Oui, c'est ça. I am honored that you've seen it. It states that the only condition for joining the league is having flame-colored hair, and that if you satisfy the interview panel are admitted into the league, you could receive a weekly income of £4. On the date specified, red-headed hopefuls gathered in droves at a park specified in the ad, and from each person present, this period took an application fee of 5 shillings. And with the money to front, it was a plan most elegant on. No, it was most dishonorable. But to be frank, I'm stunned anybody was foolish enough to be taken in by such an obvious trick. The park was described by one witness as choked with red-headed folk like a coaster's orange barrow. And the day on which all these men gathered to apply was the day before the victim was discovered. Crucially, these two men spoke face to face with every single person present that day. Oui, I have seen more red-headed people in one day than I will see in the rest of my life. See, and now every time I see the capo's hair, I feel sick to my stomach. Anyway, why have we been summoned here today? Sorry? The day for our trial was not until tomorrow, I was told. Naturally, neither of these men have been told any details about this trial. They've only been shown this photograph. Very good. So, Mr. de Rousseau and Mr. de Rossi, you will now give your formal testimony for the court on the subject of the gentleman pictured in this photograph. Of course, we are always ready to help with the law. Oh boy. These two are very much characters. Oh, sorry, I thought I saw something. We had more than 1,000 Redheaded people assemble the park on live streams as a... But I don't recall the man in this photograph. Ay, capo? No, I don't remember him. Obviously, he is dead now, but I assure you, he was not in the park. Allora, this victim is nothing to do with us. You have a lot to answer for, Peppino. Is it your fault that we got caught in the first place? You sure about that? You've given sworn testimony that this man in the photograph was not present. Can you be certain? Oui, I'm quite certain we did not interview this man. Nobody looking like this came to the park, this I can promise. It must be noted that you have been arrested for a grand deception. However, accordingly, this court has little confidence in your assurances. Oofa, with this attitude, we get to nowhere, huh? He's really a sulking now. This confidential document was obtained directly from Scotland Yard. It records an entry from the inspector's private diary dated the day before the incident. It reads, Lime Street, Redheaded League, undercover. Ah, I have the answer. Maybe there was another similar event in the park on the day in question, eh? That is ridiculous. There's no question that Inspector Gregson was investigating the Redheaded League, which means it's quite possible that when he was killed, that's when he was killed. Very well, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination now. Yes, my lord. Oh boy, red-headed people. Fun. Red-headed people can always have a lot of fun. That makes no sense. We had more than 1,000 red-headed people assemble in the park on live streams as a... 1,000 people? That's a very big crowd. It was quite the spectacle. Redheads had come from all over the capital. See? The capo here. He has the magnetismo anomaly, eh? Nobody else could attract so many people. If I could be born again, I would be the capo. All those people wanted was the money, Peppino. See, £4 per week. Are you suggesting that you spoke personally with all 1,000 applicants? Oui, that we did. Because every one of them paid us 5 shillings. We take their names and we take their money and we take their addresses as well. Then I tell them we take some days to let them know by a post finito. Maybe 2 minuti a person. We start early in the morning and we stop late in the night. So you earned 5,000 shillings in one day? That's a small fortune. Who'd have thought there were 1,000 such gullible redheads in London to start with? One of whom was a great detective with chemically altered hair. Oh, Sholmes. But I don't recall the man in this photograph, eh, capo? By the way, are you enjoying the horrible, accent? The horrible accent there? He doesn't look at all familiar? No, I don't think so, and this is a wig, eh? He was trying to trick us. I do not like the people who are trying to trick the other people. Says the con artist. If between them they interviewed 1,000 people with red hair, it would be unreasonable to expect them to remember every face. No, signor. I may be small, but my memory is very large. I never forget a thing. In my opinion, I do not think this man was in the park. But he's not gonna give the court a definite, it seems. Hey, capo, you didn't see a man like this, huh? Hey, capo. Hey, Arthur, how you doing? It's the France and Italy flags. No, I don't remember him, and obviously he is dead now, but I assure you, he was not at the park. But according to what you've said, and you spoke with 1,000 or more people that day. Whew, that's true. My eyes were burning by the end of the day. Surely then, you can't actually remember every single face. How are you so certain that this particular man wasn't present? Normally, the red hair is very distinctive, eh? But not when you have 1,000 redheads crowding around. Then it's just an eyesore. But if there was some other information you could give us, maybe then we can recall. That is not the line, Peppino. Remember, we do not remember him. We are sure of that fact, huh? If there was a man with a red hairpiece, but his mustache did not match the color, then I do not think that I could have forgotten him. Wow, that was bad. That was horrible. Kazuma said that these two had only been shown that photograph and they've been told nothing else at all. But what if I fed them just one other detail about the victim? For example... Oh, you can't sleep? Aw, that sucks right there. I hope you get to sleep soon! Yeah, I hope you get to sleep soon. Sleep is good. What about his fish and chips? I can certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember the situation. But what if I told you that the man was always munching on a packet of fish and chips? Do you remember a man who was eating incessantly? Not really, I was looking only at the heads of the applicants. I wouldn't have noticed the fish and chips anymore since the caviar and smoked salmon. Or spaghetti, me, I love the spaghetti. Really? I had no idea. Tells him again what you said before, Pepino. Si, capo, si. I say it again and again. Did I hear weird sounds? Did that come from the game or me? I think it's coming from me. But literally, the little guy jumps like Mario. I think the little guy is just supposed to be Mario. Spaghetti jumps around, talks in a mamma mia. Alright, let's try again with Mr. Grigsy. If the fish and chips won't work, it has to be I'm gonna say the name. I can certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember in this situation, but what if I told you that the man's name was Gregson? The man in the photograph is a Monsieur Gregson? Yes. Names, they are boring. I did not listen to any of them. Oh. What if I just talked like Mario for the Rosie, like, oh, mama, it was not a real interview, huh? It was just a for show. Why would I remember the names? Oh, that's bad. That's right, these changes nothing. The man as the photograph was not there, as we have already said. I see. It seems there's little to be gained from pursuing this point further. Tell them again what we said before, Pepino. Pepino. Si, capo, si, I see it again and again. I'm a Mario. Rupu.
Hold it!
Alright, let's try one more detail. If the name and the fish and chips won't work, how about we try the profession? I can certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember in this situation, but what if I told you that the man in the red hairpiece was actually a detective? See, man, is he photograph a detective? Yes. It would appear he found your notice in the paper suspicious and decided to investigate incognito. Sorry. Sorry, but these changes nothing. Oh.
Excuse me.
Pepino. Something to add, Mr. De Rossi? Che? Sir, I see I'm always adding something. Parmesan, olive oil, pepper. What I mean is, did you not agree with your friend's last remark by any chance? Eh? What did he just say about the detective? Yes, that. Keep your mouth shut, Pepino. You have said enough already. But why, Capo? What is the problem? There was a man who said, I am an inspector from Scotland Yard. What? Good lord. I think Pepino opened up his big mouth. Order! Explain this Volt's face in your testimony, witness. It's simple. A man who was at the park said to us that he was an inspector. There was no such man. Madai! What are you saying, Capo? Have you forgotten, huh? I have forgotten nothing. Nobody like this came to the park. Basta, Capo, basta. You beat me at many things, but not to the memory and the meals. Like I said, when it's time to eat the pasta, no one is a fasta. But you are inferior to me in every other way, so shut up.
Objection!
Shut up! Oh. Double Decilam? Ugh. Drop tard, the damage is done. Indeed it is, sir. Hui, there was a man who came to the park and he said he was an inspector from Scotland Yard. However, he looked nothing like the man in the photograph. He was someone else. How can you be so sure? Because, to start with, his face was completely different. See, it's true, it's true. The man who came was younger. His face was clean shaven, his eyes were sadder, his chin was thin. No resemblance whatsoever then. Anyway, I was not going to be fooled. I took the obvious precaution and said to him, if you are really a detective, show us the proof. See, the capo here, he doesn't take a no nonsense, eh? But he was well prepared. He said he had identification. Identification? You mean official police inspector's identification? That is most unconvincing. Sorry, my lord. Counsel, no incognito inspector would offer his identification for inspection. It's quite out of the question. Definitely, why would he expose his true identity? Clearly, the papers were fake. Certo, capo, you are a genius. As we say in Italia, it takes a thief to recognize another, eh? And what happened after he announced that he was a detective? He became very annoying. He said, you are under investigation. So I took his papers from him and chased him out of the park. It was fantastico, and look, here is the identification. So you stole it from the man? He had it coming, he made us very scared. But he was not who he said he was. Indeed, the person described does not appear to have behaved as a true inspector would. However, I believe it would be prudent for these identification papers to be entered in evidence. But I like them. Now, let us return to the witness's testimony. Hold on, I gotta see whose identification this is. Let's open it. Well, I suppose we should see what this inspector's identification looks like inside. Oh boy. Legible handwriting. Yes, it definitely looks fake, doesn't it? Out of interest, what name is given? Probably just something plucked out of the air. It's Tobias Gregson? Hey, Yeeter, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? I love these scribbles, though. Can anyone read this? Anyone who tells me what exactly this is, I will give you my love for eternity. I'm doing alright, you know, just playing some great Ace Attorney, doing my things over here. Hope all is good on your end. Oh, I love that Tails emote, that's so cute. I love how they work together, that's awesome. Wait, what? This Scotland Yard insignia looks genuine to me. But how? And the department and identification number details are all correct as well. Since when have you known those? Do you mean to say? I know it seems incredible, but yes, I think this is a genuine ID book issued by Scotland Yard. But that's unbelievable. This is the real thing after all? Oh. They just actually took his actual ID. Wow. Gregson, what is going on? Gregsy be slipping. I mean, he's dead, but he be slipping though. Yahoo! This victim has nothing to do with us. But hold on, I gotta see. He was not in the park. But we got the updated ID now. If he was not in the park, can I present the ID now because he was in the park?
Objection!
Yeah. He was not in the park. Yes, he was. You got the ID. We found out it's real. I wonder if I could ask you to examine his ID book very closely. By the way, chat, can I ask you one question? Has the audio been okay so far? Everything all cool with the stream? Miss Lestrade? Why Miss Lestrade? What is your intention here, counsel? Is this really a fake or is it genuine? That's the question, which we can't answer ourselves.
Objection.
Don't be ridiculous. No Scotland Yard detective would allow his or her ID to be stolen. Oh. That is the boss's, no question about it. Can't be. As I suspected. The undercover detective who attended the Redheaded League's enrollment on the day in question was the real Inspector Gregson, carrying out an incognito investigation. Zualos! Hey, get back up. You're on the floor, dude. My bum! Oh, there. But if the boss had his ID stolen, he would have reported it straight away. I mean, he was always on me about it. If you lose some, report it at once, he'd say. Gregson got he really got everything stolen. His ID, his life. Could it be then that the inspector was physically unable to report it? Physically? What are you saying? Unable to? You're not suggesting. Yes, it's quite possible that he was killed before he had the chance to report his ID stolen. No. Oh, dang. Or dog. The defense posits that the victim was killed the day before his body was discovered at a different location. Do you two have anything to say about that? I know a nothing way. I done a nothing way. Can I auto-tune my crying, please? Can I just cry and just be auto-tuned so it's just that would be awesome. Pull yourself together, Peppino. Come on, dude, you can behave a little more like a master criminal than that, no? I wish I'd have returned to Italia. Stop crying, Peppino, please. Otherwise, Lume, stop your whining and start talking. Well, I believe the court will need to hear your story and considerably. I know a nothing way. I done a nothing way. But you will tell everything, or face the worst possible outcome. DJ set. You will dry your eyes and testify again about these ID papers and the precise circumstances under which you came by them. For crying out loud. Alright, let's see. The truth is we took him prisoner and kept him for the night at our secret hideout. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case. We took the man's ID from him and shut him in the room next to ours. There might have been a little tussle, but we didn't need no harm, and the next morning we let him go. He spent the night in a nice room. It wasn't nothing like prison, really. So they trapped Gregson? This is outrageous. You imprisoned the man? But no, see, no. It was not like a prison. He was a very comfortable and calm and happy. Hey, couple? It was never part of my plan, I swear it. Oof, so you think it was my fault, eh? Just because I got the date of the ferry wrong by one little a day. I do not think it was your fault, Peppino, I know it. No. Per favore, capo, is it not fair? You shall have plenty of time for squabbling back at the prison, gentlemen. I don't believe this. How could he have been a real detective? Counsel for the defense proceeded with the cross-examination. So on the day before the incident, Gregson spent the night confined in this pair's hideout. Poor Gregson. What the heck, you two? What'd you do to Gregsy? The truth is we took him prisoner and kept him for he not at our secret hideout. Do you realize what you're saying? You have to believe me, I never intended for that to happen. And I'm sure the detective did not intend it either. Do you think? But there was nothing else I could do. See, nothing else. This was our first crime for the capo. He was at the end of his wits. I have told you before, Pepinos, that is not the way to describe a criminal mastermind. What about this hideout of yours? An old empty house behind the park on Lime Street. We rented the place for 2 days. It was an inspired idea by the capo here. An impulsive idea, I would say. No, not impulsive. Inspired, eh, capo? What am I supposed to say to that, huh, Pepino? And it was in the house described that you confined Inspector Gregson, was it? But you have to remember, I was under the impression that he was a pretender, not a real inspector. That doesn't quite add up, though. If you didn't think the man was a real inspector, there would have been no reason to take him prisoner, would there? Oh, you are right, but we couldn't be completely certain. So, these two are not really good masterminds, are they? Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day just in case.
Hold it!
Too scared? Why? Because why had he come to the park? We didn't know. There was a chance that he had seen through my plan. And if that wasn't the case, he would go straight to the police station to blow the whistle on us. Even if he was just a feigning to be an inspector, he was up to no good, huh? Without a doubt, I think most people would agree that it's you two who were up to no good. Started making trouble around the neighborhood. Well, see, you may be right, eh, capo? The point is, we were not able to escape from England immediately. So that is why we had no choice but to take the man prisoner. What I don't understand is, why the inspector felt the need to show you his ID in the first place. See, I asked myself the same question. We were writing down the names and addresses of all the people who we took 5 shillings from Zaze. I have forgotten what name he said, but the address, it startled me. See, address, Scotland Yard Homicide Division, he said. What? He probably didn't like your face, Pepino. Anyway, I was not rude, I just politely asked him why he said it. And that's when he started to say he was an inspector. Not long afterwards, he took out his ID. What was Inspector Gregson playing at? Tell the court what happened next. You took him back to your hideout, you say. See, we did. We took the man's ID from him and shut him in the room next to ours. That be in this ID book here, correct? See, that is the one. What made you believe that it was a forgery? I never seen a real one, of course. But he was so sus, this man. He was a sassa. A sassibaka. Allora, I was thinking it must be falso, eh, capo? Ooh, it's just as Pepino has said, we were convinced it was not genuine. And so together, the hilarious brothers, we took the man captive. All we did was shove him inside a locked room. Then we made preparations to transport all the money. In for a penny, in for a pound. He was a sassa. There might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm, and the next morning we let him go. What do you mean by a little tussle exactly? Oh, Buff, it was nothing, just a minor incident. The fossil inspector, he was a real piece of the work, eh, capo? Wait, what happened? Oofa, it was a disaster. We give him a nice room, and what does he do, huh? In the middle of the night, he tries to escape it through the ventilator. Can you blame him? We chased him, bien sûr, and we caught him again. Can you blame us? Yes. Wait, he tried to vent. He did go. Oh my goodness, he is acting sus. Wait, you didn't shoot the man in your haste, did you? Who do you think we are? Of course not. I simply caught hold of him again and took him back to the room. Oh, Pepino. Pepperino? Mr. DeRossi, is something wrong? Ay, mi mamma mia. Something Mr. DeRosal just said seemed to make you, well, it seemed to make you act even more strangely than usual. What was that all about? Cavolo, at times like that, you don't want to have the capo after you, believe me. And I speak it from personal experience. Personal experience? That is enough, Peppino. There is no need to say more. The roast sauce, oh my goodness. The truth is, the night that before we put the Redheaded League plan into action, I was scared. It was not fair to the capo, but I tried to run away. It's a shame you didn't manage it. But the capo here, he came after me like at the turbine, huh? And he dragged me back to the house, kicking and screaming. I still have the bruises to prove it, eh, capo? What the flip? Bruises, you say? Oh, wait a second. Neck. You know who else has that? Freaking Gossip. Something's going on here. Gossip also has a ring around his neck. You wanna see ya? You wanna see my fantastico bruises? That's enough now, Peppino. No one wants to look at any part of you. What to do? I show you or I don't. I show you or I don't. You do now. Oh Lord, if everybody wants to see, then I do it. Oh no, we can't show this. Oh my goodness. That's huge. Echo, you see, it's still very visible, eh? That red ring around your neck? You got that when you were dragged back to the house? See, the cowboy sometimes he is very rough, and I says that's enough. Peppino's neck has nothing to do with what we are talking about here. You have my word. I know, I know. I'm gonna get banned from Twitch for showing a naked neck. You just wanted to say you had an insane theory here that actually ended up being right. But not spoiling anything, though. What is your opinion, Council? About this red ring around Mr. Rossi's neck, I wonder. Does it matter? Heck yeah, it is. Mr. DeRossi, I'm going to have to ask you to amend your testimony with details about that mark on your neck. Gobble, you see, everyone is interested in what I say, huh? Very well, you will amend your you will amend you I found another error. You will amend you testimony. You testimony. Me person, but you testimony. You will amend you testimony as requested, Mr. DeRossi. CC, if you really wanted to know. He tried to escape, but the cop put the collar on him and dragged him back like what you did to me. Oh boy, I should probably have something for this, huh? Unless I don't so far. But either way, unfortunately, I will have to end the stream for tonight. I am getting super hungry and I must eat, but I will continue again later this week on... We will continue more on Saturday. We will get back to this on Saturday, so I hope you enjoyed the stream. Thank you everybody for coming tonight. I'm sorry for ending in the middle of a really weird cross-examination, but we will do more next time. To everybody who has joined me, thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. I gotta eat. And if you haven't followed, please do for more. I'll be back on... Today's Wednesday, right? No, what's today? Wednesday? Is today Wednesday? Yeah, today's Wednesday. I'll be back Friday. I'll be back on Friday with Kid Icarus Uprising. So, until next time. Before you leave. What's up, Art, though, before you leave? But yeah, bye to everybody else. Goodbye. Thanks for coming by. Hope you enjoyed yourself. I have to find food because I'm hungry. Oh, goodness, I got it. So make sure you have a good night, everybody. And as a reminder, I do upload on YouTube many times a week, so be sure to check that out. Follow the stream for more stuff like this. Holy heck, Arthur. Do you want me to stick around, or is this it? just said, oh snap, right before I leave, and it's like, am I gonna wait around for something, or should I just end the stream right now? I thought it was a question. I thought I had to wait for a question, though. I'll save again, and I'll slowly just start shutting things down, I guess. The behind the scenes is weird. But yeah, but for the next stream, I'm gonna fix up everything, so, you know, I'll keep this, but also make sure that the arm does not get showed. Well, bye. Cool. Bye then. Bye-bye.